What's going on? So, I want to get right into this. So, the last video I made, I watched it back and I noticed that I was like basically sober, and it reminded me of like the times that I'm sober. People always thought I was on some like uppers type shit, but I was trying to explain to people the sober me is a very hyper, very type of person. It's just I've always been like that. Like, I don't know, until I started smoking weed. Like, I started smoking weed like every day type shit when I was 15, and I'm 29 now. So like, it's this thing where I used the weed to help mold my personality without being consciously aware of it. But now that I'm consciously aware of how like the drugs you use and affect your personality in a sense. So like, I've said this in videos prior, like alcoholics all have I guess you can say, like, I guess it's like a stereotype really, but stereotypes with drugs are interesting because they're actually pretty damn accurate. Like psychedelic people, you get a group of people who use psychedelics, the conversations are going to be a little whatever, even if they're not on the psychedelic. But it's the same thing that happens with whatever drug you're using. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I said it in another video, but when, France was under their alcoholic haze and they started using like coffee, and like the coffee house changed a society. Like, it changed the structure of the consciousness of that society. And the fact that I was sober in the last video, because I just got the idea, I forgot to smoke. I was getting ready to take some kratom, but I didn't because the idea just came to me. I was getting ready to then take some motherwort, but I didn't because I was just chilling, watching something. But then the idea just hit, and I was like, oh, I gotta make this video. But when I made the video, I was so sober that I was like, I'm a little hype. And I was watching it, and then my daughter came in because like she was with her mom, but when she came back, I was just kind of watching it back, and she noticed the same thing, and it reminded me of something that my mom and my daughter said to me once. So I was at my mom's, and like because sometimes me and my daughter go to my mom's for the weekend, so we were at my mom's. And they went somewhere together. Like, I don't know where, but they went somewhere together. And once again, it was just one of these things where sometimes I forget to smoke, sometimes I forget to whatever. So like, it was one of these things where I was like, well, I was just working on something, working on music or whatever. But when they came back, it was like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, nothing's wrong. Like, I'm good. Like, but it was just the way I was. Well, I'm good. Um, it's a funny thing that um my mom and my daughter, I mean, my mom has when I was a kid, but since I was like 15 when I started smoking, I'm always slightly high or high. Like, and it's not really I don't know, I can't say that's good or bad for somebody else, but it works for me because, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not a whatever the fuck, so don't take this as fucking medical advice. This is just my life. But I use cannabis to I don't want to use self-medicate, but um, I use plants and herbs and the whole shamanism practice and the whole herbalism practice and the whole whatever as health things for me that help me in my life. Whether it's help me, like, you know how they say THC can shrink tumors? Um, well, okay, yeah. But you know what THC does for me? It helps me be able to analyze the world in a calming way. It helps me be able to, like, even though my thoughts are sped up, my thoughts are always sped up because I'm always sped up. But it allows me to be able to analyze it in a more calmer way. And, like, allows me to say what's on my mind in a much more smoother way. I don't know. Like, It's always helped me with creativity, with music, with, all these other things, but it's helped me philosophize as well. And it's helped me structure my mind in a certain way where it's like, you get a bunch of people who smoke weed. They have even though everyone has different personalities anyways, like goes back to the stereotype thing though. Like, this drug stereotype is real. Get people in a room who only smoke weed, and then get people in a room who only drink alcohol. Their personalities are going to be different because the molecule that they use is different. And it's just this weird thing that we don't understand. Like, we are molecule beings. And I feel like this is what therapists or psychiatrists or whatever are trying to do when they prescribe people things or whatever. They're just trying to help humans balance themselves out. But I don't think we should get rid of big pharma because keep doing your thing, but stop. I think they should stop preventing people from being able to use plants to do the thing. That's why now it's like cannabis is legal, mushrooms are getting ready to be legal. It's some shit's happening around the world, but I don't know, it takes time, it took time for France to get out of their alcoholic haze. It took time for me to become me. I didn't, I've said this in prior video, I didn't like what my personality was, so I was able to change my personality. But I consciously made the decision to be like, okay, I need to work on me, on myself, on, whatever, who am I type shit, and I feel like a lot of people don't ask themselves that question. But the funny thing is, maybe it was because, the first thing I started doing was smoking a lot of weed. And, you just sit there like, oh, who am I? Or I don't know, you get some funny high thoughts or some funny high questions or whatever. But that shit's real. It's very mild compared to psychedelics. You take a psychedelic, you get some really funny questions going. You get some really crazy ideas going. But that doesn't happen with things like alcohol. It's not like you drink the alcohol and then you get this crazy idea about the universe and time and space or whatever. It's not that type of thing. But whatever your type of thing is will affect your personality and will affect, your consciousness. And because consciousness is infinite, you have the infinite possibilities of being whoever you want to be. But you have to choose, because if you don't, the world has already chose for you. The world has already chose a personality for you. The world has already chose religion for you. The world has already chose a life for you. The world has already chose job options for you. The world has already chose. But what are you going to choose? And if you don't choose, the world chooses for you. And the sad thing is, I don't think it's the world that chooses for us. It's the society that chooses for us. It's our environment that chooses for us. If we don't choose for ourselves, who do we want to be? And I'm making this because I was thinking about how, I use the molecules and plants and herbs and all these different things to help me in my life. I know when I'm too hype, I'm like, maybe I need to take some motherwort. Maybe I don't need to smoke some weed. Maybe I just need to take some motherwort instead. There's different days call for different things. And there's this thing where it's how do I want to be today? What do I need to do today? That's why I enjoy smoking all these different cannabinoids, not just because all I smoke is distillate. So I'll smoke THCA, Delta 9 distillate, or powder, whatever, yeah, or Delta 8 distillate, or HHC distillate, or THCO distillate, or whatever, but each different distillate has a slightly different effect. And they all, the highs are slightly different, so therefore I can tether what feeling do I want for the day. I don't smoke Delta 8 that often because it's too sedating for me. It's too tiring for me. My favorite one right now is HHC. But my second favorite obviously is THCA. But I don't know. I like the more energizing ones because there's some cannabinoids that are more sedating and some are more energizing. Like, I guess more a balance of like calm energy. But I don't know. I was just thinking about how, like, the Lotus has helped me, the Motherwort has helped me. Ever since I started using Motherwort again, I started realizing, okay, this is all I needed. I just needed some Motherwort, some Lotus, and, I'm good. I don't know. It's just I prefer me on plants and not sober. And like a lot of times people be like, you should go sober for a little while, see, it's good I'm like, okay, but I know what I'm like sober. I'm very fucking hyper and like all over the place. So I use plants, molecules, herbs, mainly Motherwort, cannabinoids, and Blue Lotus and Kratom. Now, I say this all the time. I don't talk about Kratom much because it is an opioid. So, meaning it attaches to the opioid receptors. So, they are addictive, it's addictive like opioids. But I personally use it. I made a video about that on my Trip Report channel. How the pros outweigh the cons for me with using Kratom, but how that might not be for everyone. But plants that I feel like could be for everyone, like Motherwort is such an underrated, beautiful thing that, like, I guess it's so underrated because it doesn't have this powerful drug effect, because I don't even think it really works on dopamine at all. So, like, it lacks this maybe powerful euphoria feeling, but it does have this something else to it that's more subtle, but yet, it helps me dramatically, because sometimes you want subtle. I don't want to be walking down the street like, I don't fucking know, bro. So sometimes you just take a small bit of Motherwort. No, you can get like that on Motherwort, though. If I took a high dose of Motherwort, I wouldn't be able to go on this walk. But I don't know. So this is my thing. I love plants and herbs because it helps me be able to maneuver my consciousness through these different states of how I want to be during each different day.